Hey everybody, Happy New Year! Dylan Bowman here from Freetrail, and in the first 10 days of 2024, we're going to be rolling out our Trail Runner of the Year award. This is our favorite time of year to celebrate all the great athletes and performances that made 2023 a year to remember in trail running, and this year we're super happy to have partnered with Ketone IQ to help bring the award to life. Make sure you check this product out, super cutting edge, futuristic endurance sport nutrition product, ketone supplement guaranteed to give you better focus and help you rip out on the trails. We have exclusive discount code that you can take advantage of here, hvmn.com/freetrail30. That link is also in the description here on YouTube. Enjoy these interviews with some of the best athletes in the world, and thanks for helping us celebrate 2023.
Leah Yingling, happy holidays to you. Congratulations on 8th place Trail Runner of the Year.
Thanks so much, Dylan. Happy holidays to you.
Before we get into some of the details as we close the year, how are you feeling about the season in context?
It's been a long season, and right now I'm in major recovery mode. So it's very easy to feel far from the version of myself that I was at various aspects during the season, but I love this part of the year as well. So just really hunkering down, recovering, and taking in what was probably a good 9 to 10 months of pretty serious training. So happy to be where I'm at right now, and also happy to enjoy every little race that I had go through pretty successfully this past year.
You do race with a pretty respectable volume throughout the year. At least you have the last couple of seasons. I'm glad to hear that you're good at decompressing. Has that always been the case? Because I think there's a lot of people who, have a difficult time unplugging and taking the watch off this time of the year.
I'm almost too good at this part of the season, I think.
Me too.
It becomes problematic when I have to jump back into things. And usually, I like when mine and my husband Mike's schedules align because we can both recover together. But we always say he's way more jazzed about running than I am. And this time of year, it really shows where I'm like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, it's funny. We've done Sober January every year for almost a decade now. And it's always a great way to start the year. But it's because I'm so good at Christmas and New Year's that I sort of need to detoxify at that point. So anyway, we'll both be hanging out here for the remaining days of 2023. So obviously, we're here to talk about all the great things you did this racing season, but maybe let's start with the most recent thing. Get the bad stuff out of the way. You were just returning home from Ultra Trail Cape Town, where you had an unfortunate DNF. Tell the people about that. Any learnings that came as a result?
Yeah, that was a tough one, but also a pretty easy decision for me to make in the moment. Ultra Trail Cape Town was the first time I had experienced Cape Town in any capacity, and man, just what a place, what an event. I came back just so full of energy despite my DNF, given the community there, the race organization, just the people we met. So I highly advocate for everybody listening, go experience that race because it is everything that I love about ultra running. And I'm sure that emotion would be felt among anybody that went out there to experience it. But yeah, I took a leave of absence from work about 4.5 months ago and just went back last week, which was a little unfortunate. But I was really just emphasizing recovery in my training and maybe not trying to emphasize the training aspect as much. And I was really hoping going into Cape Town that, that would shine. And I felt good. I had one of the best training blocks of my life going into it. But I think what I experienced on race day was the product of a really long season. I got to about 2.5 hours in of what should have been about a 12.5-hour race, just feeling mentally done, physically had nothing, and was just watching the race run away from me. And my mind immediately went to, gosh, you're not having the day you came here for. You're mentally tapped out. It's been a long season. Mike's having a decent day out there. Why don't we just go put that energy towards his day? So made the unfortunate decision to drop out around the marathon mark, which totally okay with. And then unfortunately I found out Mike had dropped, within an hour later. So then we channeled that energy into our friends who had 2 great days, Caleb Wilson and Anthony Costalis.
Yeah, man, that Salt Lake crew did show up down there in Cape Town. Say more about this leave of absence thing, because I think that's, obviously it's hard to disentangle our professional lives and our athletic lives. And you've been able to enjoy what has been an awesome summer of racing without a lot of the professional obligations. I'm sure people would love to hear you talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm really passionate about my career. I'm a biomedical engineer by training, and I work in the medical device space in the cardiology and electrophysiology realm. And a part of my job is a decent amount of travel. So I'm regionally responsible for Utah, Idaho, and Montana, and I live here in Salt Lake City. So this ends up being a good amount of like flights I'm taking weekly, a lot of late night flights that just cut into good sleep, cut into good balance back here at home in my like family life, social life, running life. I have bounced around the idea of like, what would it be like to just take some time off from work? And fortunately for me, I work for Johnson & Johnson, and my company was really flexible with me this past year when I brought up some of the concerns with my balance with work. And they offered up this leave of absence that was about 90 days or so. And I kind of took it and ran with it. I figured there was no better time than my last couple of weeks going into UTMB this past summer to really take a step back, recover, sleep, kind of live that training and professional athlete life for a little bit. But doing so, I also realized how much I do like the balance that work gives to my training life. And I think that really showed with that block going into Cape Town. I had my best training, best recovery, but also like not the races that I'm used to having. I've never had that kind of energy, lack of, I guess, that early in a race. And who knows what I can attribute it to, but part of me does think it could be due to just to evening out that balance a little bit better.
What a great employer. J&J saying, hey, we've got a great athlete on our hands. Maybe she should empower her a little bit more. They probably thought 50-50. Leah never comes back. She's just.
Yeah, I think so, actually.
So let's talk about your season. When I think about you, I think of you more as like a long course person, but I was just like reminding myself about your season. Like you're second at Way Too Cool. You race all different distances, but top 10 at both Western States and UTMB. I'd love to hear you just like talk about, we're sort of, it feels to me in an age of like moving towards specialization, and you're very much like a generalist. So maybe where you see your strengths at this point in your career, where you see like your highest level of motivation, and anything you want to say about the tension between like specializing and being a generalist.
Totally. I love to do all of it. I will say, like, from a specialization perspective, during Cape Town, all I kept thinking about was, man, I like those mountain 100-milers right now. And I hate the fact that this is 100K. I wish this was 100 miles. So maybe that's my first step towards realization that maybe I do specialize a little bit more in the 100-mile distance, because I like to go a little bit slower for a longer amount of time. And just, I think my resilience and just troubleshooting kind of comes into play a little bit more the longer it is. However, I really do like framing my seasons around kind of like a build and distance. For example, like I did this year with like working on my speed through the winter, showing up at Way Too Cool, running a faster 50K that I'm used to, and then just kind of building into the summer from there. I do think training for longer stuff in the season, early in the season in Salt Lake City is a little tricky. So it's pretty easy to focus on roads in the winter here. And I think I might continue doing that for, seasons to come.
Yeah, cool. So then Western States, you were 9th, you were 6th in 2022. You ran 45 minutes faster, but 3 places lower on a historically fast day. Talk about that day at Western States and any takeaways.
Yeah, it was probably the most deja vu day I've ever had racing in my life. Everything played out identically to when I ran for 6th place in 2022. Except I was 3 places lower. And I think I finished being like, nothing went wrong, had a perfect day, but dang, like I've never been so proud of a 9th place finish in my life. Right. So that was really at the peak of a lot of like work stress and travel for me. So I was like, perfect day for me out there, all things considered, the training that I was given and just my execution on the day. I love Western States. I like executing Western States well. And it was just a good day of execution and having fun, but feeling like it was impossible to chase down the 6 or 9 minutes that separated me from like 6th place this year. I feel like I'm really good at getting 5th to 10th at Western States. So there's a little different.
Oh, maybe we'll talk about next year here in a second. But yeah, executing Western States is so difficult. By the time this podcast comes out, we will have already talked to Tyler Green, who we also sort of explored that territory together. So speaking of Tyler Green, you and Tyler and Matthew Blanchard all were top 10 in both Western States, UTMB. Obviously, there's always been this kind of storyline that it's difficult to do both well in the same summer. Anything you want to say about what led to that strong 8th place finish at UTMB and what people can do to approach that double more effectively?
Actually, I think one of our first conversations we ever had in person, Dylan, you were like, you remind me of Tyler Green. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is such a compliment.
That is such a compliment. Yes.
Man, I can't imagine being I love Tyler. I love the way he trains. And I think it did benefit me even living with him and Rachel out in Les Houches this summer while we were training for UTMB. Approaching the double is challenging. I think in order to have your best day at both, you really do need to emphasize recovery, but then you also need to get back on the horse pretty soon after without putting a lot of stress on yourself. And I think it's extremely easy to look at a lot of the people's training who are also training for UTMB and to see the volume that they're doing and to try to remove any pressures around trying to replicate that from yourself. So that's what I did this summer. I really just wanted to emphasize recovery after Western States, which was quite easy this year. I think because it was a cooler year, Western States didn't damage me too much. But then I just really had to take a step back and be like, Leah, what training works for you? And that wasn't much, honestly. It was 13 hours most weeks, 10 to 13 hours, and then maybe one peak week in there. But just making sure I could line up at UTMB feeling ready to take on that distance mentally. I knew I could physically endure it, but it was more the mental piece that I was a little unsure about. So I think advice to anybody hoping to double back with both of those, it's just making sure you're mentally recovered from your first big effort, because that'll make encountering the entire night, encountering these multiple long climbs that are never ending, it'll make it a little easier.
How did you feel about your UTMB performance? Because to me, it was classic Leah Yingling / Tyler Green type day too.
Yeah, it was good. It was very good for my first attempt there. I was very satisfied with it. I went in with goals of running about an hour and a half faster. I know I can run under 25 hours there. So I got passed at stages during the race where I was like, dang, I wish I could be running like Maite right now, because normally in a race I am, but that last 25 miles of UTMB was quite challenging for me this year. And it was really about just hanging on. My quads were busted. My feet were busted. So I really do want to go back and execute it a little bit better, maybe modify my training a little bit, but man, it's impossible to be disappointed with an eighth place finish and running a little bit over 26 hours at your first UTMB.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, speaking of going back, let's start to talk about the future. Obviously, we've touched on a few of the highlights of 2023. This is now the time, as you head back to the East Coast to spend time with your family, to put pen to paper and start setting goals. Anything you want to share with your fans?
Yeah, all I know is Mike and I were just going through our race schedules for last year. And I think we deleted and re-entered different calendars for each other 3 times in the course of 1 hour. So most recently coming up is a 6-day ultra marathon with Lululemon in the beginning of March. This is their event called Further. And there's going to be 10 global ambassadors participating in this, all with various goals that span, maybe running 20 miles a day up to attacking the 6-day world record. So wow. My goals personally for that, as it stands at this moment, likely to change, as I'm sure it will over the course of the next couple months, is likely going after just a 24-hour target mileage and then seeing what I've got for the next 5 days. So wow. I keep explaining to people running on a flat, shortish distance loop is kind of the antithesis of a lot of the training and racing I've done in recent years. So this will be an entirely new challenge for me. I've always wanted to give an attempt at a 24-hour distance. So we'll see how this plays out, see if I like it, and maybe qualify for the 2025 24-hour team.
And then looking further ahead, maybe we'll see at Western States, maybe we'll see at UTMB.
Yeah, I'm feeling like
you don't need to say anymore. Don't feel pressured to say anymore. I'm just backing you into a corner. And
I know right now, I think Western States, I'm leaning towards a more definite on that one, despite me saying this past year, I was 2 and done, maybe definitely 3 and done though, if I do show up. So
Let's see about that.
It is cool. Mike is about 10th on the wait list, and we've been going back and forth about whether he'll line up or not once his name gets drawn. So it would be extremely fun to both be doing Western States together. I think he'd kick my butt.
So yeah, I was going to ask you about this too, because I was at the lottery, as you know, and I think it was David Lamb who I was talking to. And he was like, yeah, when Mike got pulled on the wait list, I texted Leah and her response was something like, oh shit. Or
Yeah. 100%.
So bring us into the conversations that you and Mike have to have now, evaluating whether it makes sense for you to both run. Do you lose your crew chief, et cetera?
Yeah, this past year, he had a good photo contract lined up. So this year, he wasn't really involved much as my crew chief. So at least I got experience with that. So Western States is that 100 miler where I feel like I could very much do without him, because we've had such great friends support us over the last couple of years that I have full faith that they can do the job without him. Yeah. And I think for him, he's got a lot of passion for his photography projects and following the race and just really building that portfolio for himself. And like you probably know like how much value Western States plays in a creative person's year and just career in general. So he's kind of toggling back and forth with some of those ideas. But I do believe that Mike could possibly have an amazing day at Western States. He ran in 2013 and was a golden hour finisher. So when we've been chatting about it, he's like,
wasn't he only like in his early 20s at that point too?
Yeah, he was like 21, I think. And we've been chatting and he's like, maybe I can be like the most improved Western States finisher from their first attempt to their second attempt. Yeah. So still curious if he'll sign up or not, but I'm hoping he does, because I think it'd be some fun trash talk, at least in our household.
He'll crush it. And speaking of which, yeah, our creative guy, Ryan Thrower, is like 20 places behind him. So yeah, even though it is important to be shooting photographs and taking videos, sometimes you got to take advantage of life opportunities.
The focus has got to be on you occasionally.
Yeah, no doubt. So Leah, I've been closing these interviews with the same question, and that is just asking you to give some kudos or shine a light on an individual who exists behind the scenes that contributes to your success in some way. And maybe say somebody other than Mike.
Oh, it's so hard. Okay, let's see here. I got to shout out my good friend, Peter. I met him this year through Lululemon, and he dove headfirst into my season. I complete strangers last year, but he became like one of the people leading my crew at Western States this year, thoroughly involved in my progress, in my successes, in the good times, the bad times, and always that one friend that is tuning in, checking in with me, and just making sure my mental space is good. So I really think having those people that just check in and say, how are you doing, is extremely valuable. And whether you're in the sport, in a career, in your family life, those people are really meaningful. So extremely grateful for Peter.
No doubt. Shout out, Peter. Well, Leah, congrats on another amazing season. I hope you have a fantastic holiday season and can't wait to watch what you do next year.
Thanks so much, Dylan.
So the Skyrunning World Championships were somewhat of a disappointment because you weren't really able to even participate because you were so sleep deprived. And then you have the 5-week cycle before the World Championships in Thailand and you win. And so was then the plan to go straight into training for Innsbruck? Because I know you did Istria as well before Innsbruck.
Yeah. I took 3 weeks off doing no running. And then in December, I started building up the volume again. In January, February, March, I had a huge, I don't remember amount of hours, but I had like a big block of training and work. And yeah, Istria I did because I wanted to qualify for this UTMB race called OCC. So in order to do that race, I had to do this Istria race in Croatia. And that was fun. Like I'd never been in Croatia before.
Yeah, no, that looked like a beautiful race, and it was cool seeing you finish with your teammate there, who's also new to A6. And so I also just want to touch on one more thing with Thailand. How did it feel to win? Because that was your first World Championship win, right?
Yeah, in trail running, I won back in 2016 in skyrunning. So that was fantastic and also emotional feeling to win that race. It was it was cool. Like I feel it was a team performance with my girlfriend. So I feel that half of the gold medal is hers. So I think like the most right thing was be that we will cross the finish line together. So yeah.
I love that. So your girlfriend is the president of Nordic Skyrunning, correct?
Yeah.
How did you guys meet?
We met during during races. Like the first sky race both of us did were the same. That was the Dolomite Sky Race in 2014. But we didn't know each other there. We didn't met there at all. But and then she went like all in and did the Segama the following year and a lot of races in Italy. She were the Italian skyrunning champion in 2016 or 17. I don't remember. So yeah, she moved. She is from Denmark, and she moved to Switzerland and stayed there for 3 years, running all the races way before I did. And I started a little bit later, and then we just met at races.
How long have you guys been together? So like since 2014?
No, we've been together in a little bit more than 3 years.
Oh, okay.
So everything everything went pretty fast.
Yeah. When did you guys decide to have a family?
Like we got together in, was it like January, February in 2020, and then COVID hits us, and then we maybe we pushed the rules about the COVID a little bit to go from Norway to Denmark a couple of times, but we talked about it in August. And then she was pregnant in November. So it was quite fast.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask who's the better downhiller.
Yeah, she's an awesome downhiller, and I'm more of an uphiller. So if our daughter should maybe start running, hopefully she gets skills from both of us.
It sounds like if she gets skills from even one of you, it'll be okay.
We'll see what she is. What's her interest when she become older. Like we won't push her to do sport. Like I hope she will enjoy nature, and she can do whatever she wants. But she will be with us in most races. So maybe she will find an interest in running. We'll see.
Yeah. So they usually travel with you to races?
Yeah, we've done that several times. So So most of the last years have been like they following me to races, but I also hope in the future my daughter and I will follow my girlfriend to races as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool that she has both mom and dad to follow around to cool places. What has been the most surprising thing that has come with fatherhood and training and competing that you weren't necessarily expecting?
Like lack of sleep is definitely one of them. But it's a big difference. Like it's not only me. Like I need to focus more on like it's we're a family and not like I can just go solo. So but when I'm tired of the training sessions, my daughter just runs around, and like it could be hard just to stand on my legs and run after her when I'm tired. But besides that, it's not like a big difference. It's just it's nice. It's cool with like this small creature there running around, and like I never been focused that much on babies before, but when you have your own, it's special. It's so nice to see her learn new skills, and now she can understand everything we're saying. We can't understand her yet, but what she's saying. But it's super fun.
How old is she?
She is a year and 10 months.
Oh,
so now
cute.
she's running around, and she's super fan of jumping. that's
maybe
cool.
Yeah, maybe she'll be a basketball player or a track and field jumper.
Yeah, like basketball, definitely not. But like, we're so short. Like I'm very low. My girlfriend is also low, and our daughter is like clearly the lowest person in the whole kindergarten. She's not the youngest, but the lowest. So
oh my gosh, I love that. So you guys getting to Thailand was a joint effort. Do you feel like it got easier, like leading into Innsbruck, or was like the challenge of having a kid and training the same?
Yeah, no, I think it was much of the same. Like in Thailand, then she started going to kindergarten in, was it September last year? And since then she's like, she's been sick so many times. Now she's like less sick, so it's a good thing. But the last autumn was, felt like my daughter and girlfriend had like a relay of becoming sick. For me, I was lucky, didn't take part that many times, but though they were changing all the times. So I felt sorry for them. But now it's getting a little bit better.
That's awesome. And you found out that she was allergic to milk, which I'm sure helped you guys adjust as well.
Oh, that helped so much. Like leading up to this skyrunning world championship, my girlfriend told me that, okay, now I can have 2 weeks of proper sleep before the race. And that was very kind of her. But during those 2 weeks, I just get more and more tired. When I started, I don't know why, but I was, super tired. And then 2 weeks after the championship, still sleeping well, then I start to recover. It took like 4 weeks of good sleep to recover from half a year with no sleep.
Yeah, I bet. Maybe you had finally gotten acclimated to living without sleep, and then you had to go back.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, man. So then you leave Thailand, you've won it, and the next World Championships is like only 6 months away. Do you immediately just switch gears to Innsbruck? Like, and Istria was just a kind of like a tune-up, or like, I don't know. I'm just curious, like, how you thought about Innsbruck being the world champion and wanting to come back and win it again.
I try not to focus too much on Innsbruck before like New Year's. And after that, it was more and more in my mind, and more during my, especially, both easy and hard runs, I was focusing on thinking about this race. But I think it was good to have some weeks after Thailand just to try into doing different things. Trying not to think about like, the next World Championship is, half a year away. So, but the focus on this race was greater and greater the closer I get to the race.
What were some key sessions that gave you some confidence leading into the championship? And did you have confidence that you could potentially win again?
Because I won in Thailand, then I knew it was possible to win in Innsbruck, but I knew it was hard. And I was very curious to see which runner that would show up. And I think the level in Innsbruck was fantastic. But I did some session I did were the same. Like I have a hill over here that I run first an uphill interval, and then jog easy down, and I do a flat interval, and I repeat that 3 times. And I did that this year, where I actually was running faster on all the intervals than last year. And then I was like, okay, this is good. Then I was happy. Then I was like more confident.